Hi, welcome to the Gamesplainer. I'm Jeff the Gamesplainer, and today I'm Gamesplaining Cafe. So this is Cafe set up as a two-player game. This marks what they refer to as the start player. The start player, however, is the last one to gain one of the cards. I personally play whoever has this will have first selection. I don't think it matters. That just seems like a little bit of an odd rule transcription. But if you're playing purely by the rules, whoever has this will deal out the three cards. Then the next person will choose one of the cards, and so on around the table. Each time a card is chosen, it gets replaced, by the way. So you've always got three to choose from. Then this person will get the last choice of card. The rest of the elements of the game can actually be played at the same time once people know what they're doing. Until they know what they're doing, it's worthwhile allowing each person in turn order to make their changes with everyone watching, so you can make sure that everyone's got the right idea of the rules. Each round, there are only 8 rounds in the game, but each round you're going to grab one of the cards from the top. If you grab a card that has the coffee cup symbol on it, it's going to cost you one of these beans that you've got down in your warehouse to be able to take that one. When you place that, so let's say he did take that, it would cost him a bean. It doesn't really matter which one. When you place that, you need to either cover 2, 3, or 4 spots. It's up to you how many you're covering, but you must cover that. You can't just put a piece in there because that's only covering 1. It must cover at least 2 spots. So it may actually be worth this guy's while to grab this one first up because there's no coffee cup on it. But what he can now do is cover 2 spots. And if he goes that way, you'll see why that's important in a moment. Notice he can go either direction. You can have cards upside down. It's absolutely fine. And then bring another one out. Now we have a look at how many coffee cups you have in your entire area. And there's only one, which means he has one thing that he can do. If he did build this, which would have cost him that bean, he would have 2 coffee cups, which would give him 2 things he can do. You have a maximum of 8 elements that you can use throughout the game, or throughout each turn, should I say. So the very first thing that you're going to do is grow, because there's nothing else you can do until you've grown stuff, which means you're picking one of your squares to grow beans on. If he picked there, he would put a yellow cube onto the yellow bean, and that would be his turn. However, if he picked that one, he would grow a red cube onto the red bean, and then everything that is orthogonally adjacent to that would also grow. So it's worthwhile putting things into groupings so that you can get them all to grow each time. And that was his one thing that he could do that turn. On his next turn, he may spend the cube to allow this one to be built, and another one comes out to choose from. Okay, so what's now happened, he's got 2 of these blue boats. Once you have 2 boats showing, and it's really important to get them both showing, you can't just have it, you actually have to have it showing. If you have 2 boats showing, getting one of these cards that has the coffee cup on it does not cost you a bean anymore. So now that he's got that, it's not going to cost him an extra bean to guess any more cards. He now has 2 coffee cups, and so he has 2 things that he can do. So the first thing that he may choose to do is pick the beans. So he can do that. Notice that he picks one of the red beans, but he can pick all of the red beans no matter where they are on your board. Or he could pick the green beans. That was one action. His second action might be to turn those beans into coffee. Now, bear in mind that if he happened to have this, he couldn't physically put that there, but if that happened to be there because there's some stuff underneath it, because this is gone, he can now use that as well. Now what he's trying to do is to move from the B to the C things. He's got 2, but they're not next to each other, so only one of them is going to be able to work. So he might do that, for example. On his next turn, what he's trying to do is get green coffee into this D area because there's a green cube there. So he can Move that there. He's got green cubes left over. And notice these can come from anywhere on the board. Any leftover stuff goes into his warehouse. So he can keep a maximum of 5 of each color cube in each warehouse. So it's all about adjacency. Get things next to each other and they can all act as one rather than having to act separately. Because at the moment, this one and this one, the two C's, they have to act as separate issues. So if you wish to upgrade both of the green and the red, you would need to use 2 actions, one for the red, one for the green. Every cafe and your warehouse is considered adjacent, even though they probably are not on your board, but they would be considered adjacent. So if you had a whole bunch of cafes looking for green, you could take all the green and move them around to each of the cafes. Now there's a couple of extra little things to be aware of. This one, for example, this is going to give you 3 extra points if this is next to a cafe that has been served at the end of the game. This is going to allow you, when you do a growing phase, you can grow any type of bean in there. So it's an A. If it happened to be next to that, when you grow in here, you would grow one of the colors there. So he might grow a yellow on that because he doesn't have any yellow beans anywhere else in that growing process. And that can be used just like any other bean. So 3 points for that being next to a cafe, 2 points if this is next to a cafe. The cafe must be fully served. So this one is fully served with the green bean for it to actually score, but you can only get 1 scored per cafe. So if this one happened to be here, you wouldn't be able to score both of them off the same cafe. If that one was here and there was an extra cafe next to it, then yes, you could score that. The other one to watch out for is this. This guy allows you to grow a bean on him. There were 2 green that came out. You could put the second green just there. Now that's going to sit there for the rest of the game. Firstly, if it happened to be red, you could exchange it for green. There's no issues with doing that. And that can then be moved across the cafe. So it's kind of a holding thing for anything that you're not able to fulfill. And obviously anywhere that has a picture of 2 beans would get 2 cubes on it. I believe that is everything for this game. There will be 8 rounds total. So that's judged by how deep the deck of cards is. But in essence, you need to grow the beans, then move them from there to the Bs, onto the Cs, and then onto the Ds in order to be able to get to the end of the game. And remembering that if you can get the same letters adjacent to each other, they'll all act at the same time. That's everything really with Cafe. It's an easy game to play, but there's a heck of a lot of thinking involved. So please go ahead and watch my gameplay to get a feel for how the game actually plays. If you have any comments or suggestions, please write them below. If you have any games that you would like to be Gamesplained, please shoot me an email to thegamesplainer@gmail.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter @thegamesplainer to keep up to date with the games that I'm playing. Subscribe to my videos to keep up to date with the games that I'm gamesplaining. And until next time, enjoy gaming.